He stood in the doorway silent. His eyes locked on us, unblinking. My breath caught in my throat, my fingers gripping the edge of the desk as if it could keep me from collapsing. My pulse pounded in my ears, drowning out the dead silence of the room. He didn't yell. Didn't ask questions. Didn't even move. Just watched. Beside me he was frozen too. His hand still lingered near mine, a fraction of an inch away, the warmth of his skin seeping through the air between us. I wanted to say something. Explain. Deny. Lie. But nothing came out. And then my husband smiled. Not a kind smile. Not an understanding one. Something colder. Sharper. A slow, knowing smile that sent ice through my veins. I had prepared for anger. For accusations. For a storm. Not this. The weight of it hit me like a wrecking ball. I wasn't in control anymore. Whatever happened next wasn't up to me. And that was the most terrifying part. But let's rewind. Because this didn't start here. No, it started days ago, when I made the first mistake that led me straight to this moment. The scent of garlic and roasted chicken filled the kitchen. The familiar sound of a knife tapping against the cutting board mixing with the low hum of the news playing in the background. My husband stood at the stove, stirring the sauce, focused, relaxed, just like every other night. Long day? He asked without looking up. I murmured something vague, sipping my wine, my mind somewhere else. My phone buzzed on the counter. A simple notification. Just another message. I glanced down, expecting a reminder, a spam email, but no. His name stared back at me. You look tense today. Everything okay? My stomach tightened. My finger hovered over the screen. It was nothing, just concern, just small talk, but it felt heavier than it should have. I deleted it. No reply. No trace. My husband turned, smiling. Want to taste? He held out a spoon. I forced a nod, stepping forward, taking a bite, pretending I hadn't just crossed an invisible line. I still thought I had control, thought it was harmless. But something had shifted. I didn't know it yet, but this wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. I avoided him all morning. Emails, meetings, reports, anything to keep my mind occupied, anything to stop myself from looking at him. But he was everywhere. Laughing with coworkers, leaning against the doorway of my office, completely unbothered, as if his message last night meant nothing. I told myself it was nothing, but my body disagreed. My pulse quickened every time he walked by, every time his voice cut through the noise. Lunchtime. The elevator doors slid open, and before I could turn away he stepped inside. I had no choice but to follow. The doors closed. Just us. The space felt smaller than usual. The hum of the descending floors was deafening. My breath was shallow. His hands rested casually in his pockets, but his eyes, they said something else. The doors opened. We stepped out. And then he turned. Before I could react, his lips pressed against mine. Soft, quick, electric. I pulled back, heart hammering. Why did you do that? I whispered. He smiled. You know why. I stared at him, words stuck in my throat. Then I walked away. But even as I did, I could still feel his lips on mine. The knife moved rhythmically against the cutting board, the steady sound filling the quiet kitchen. He was focused, like always, chopping vegetables with practiced ease, humming under his breath. The smell of sautéed onions and garlic filled the air, warm and familiar. I watched him, trying to feel something. Love, affection, the comfort I once knew. This was my life, my home, my husband. I should have felt safe. Instead I felt nothing. You're quiet, he said, setting 2 plates on the table, looking at me with soft curiosity. Just tired, I murmured, forcing a small smile. He leaned in, pressing a kiss against my lips, lingering just enough to mean something. But all I felt was absence. A hollow space inside me that I didn't know how to fill. I pulled away, reaching for my glass of wine, pretending it didn't matter. My phone buzzed. My stomach tightened. I knew who it was before I even looked. Are you thinking about me? I exhaled slowly, fingers hovering over the screen. One word and everything would change. But hadn't it already? The candles flickered on the table, casting a soft glow over the dinner I had carefully prepared. The wine was poured, music played low in the background, the kind he liked. I had planned this evening, convinced myself it was what we needed. A reminder, a reset, proof that I still belonged here. He smiled at me across the table, his eyes warm, unaware of the storm inside me. I reached for his hand, intertwining our fingers, feeling the weight of years between us. After dinner, I leaned in first, pressing my lips to his, needing to feel something real. He responded immediately, deepening the kiss, his hands moving to my waist, pulling me closer. But the moment his touch grew firmer, my mind betrayed me. The wrong hands. The wrong voice. A different breath against my skin. My entire body stiffened. I pulled away sharply. "Sorry. I'm just tired," I whispered, my pulse racing for all the wrong reasons. He frowned, searching my face. "Are you okay?" I forced a nod, the lie slipping too easily. "Yeah. Just a long day." He kissed my forehead. I smiled. But inside I was unraveling. The office buzzed with its usual noise. Keyboards clicking, phones ringing, voices overlapping. But I heard none of it. I kept my head down, fingers flying across my keyboard. Avoiding his gaze, avoiding proximity, avoiding temptation. It didn't matter. He was always there. A glance across the conference room, a brush of his arm in the hallway. A presence that seeped into my mind no matter how hard I tried to block it out. I needed space. Distance. But when I went to grab a file from the archive room, the heavy door clicked shut behind me. I turned. He was there. Just us. The dim light cast shadows over the rows of shelves, but his eyes found me effortlessly. I swallowed hard, pulse hammering. "You're scared," he murmured, voice low, deliberate. "But not of me." My back hit the cold metal cabinet. "I can't do this." He took one slow step forward. "You already have." The truth stung. I hated that he was right. I shoved past him, fingers trembling, breath uneven. I needed to get out. Needed to run. But no matter how fast I moved, the thought of him was already under my skin. His eyes lingered on me longer now. Not in suspicion, not yet, but something was different. He noticed the way I drifted in conversations, the way I smiled at the wrong moments, the way I lay awake at night staring at the ceiling. "Let's get away for the weekend," he said over dinner, his tone light, too casual. "Just us. No work. No stress." My stomach twisted. He felt it, something slipping, something changing. I forced a smile. "That sounds nice." He squeezed my hand, relief flickering in his expression. I wanted to believe this could fix things. That fresh air, long drives, quiet mornings could erase what had already started. The hotel room smelled like lavender and clean sheets. The windows opened to the sound of waves. I was trying, I really was. But then my phone buzzed. My heart stopped. "You really think this will help?" My breath caught. My fingers trembled as I deleted the message, as if that could erase the weight of it. I set the phone down. But I could still feel it burning, still feel him there, even from miles away. The office was silent except for the faint hum of the overhead lights. Everyone had left hours ago, but I stayed behind, convincing myself that finishing reports would help clear my mind. It didn't. The numbers blurred, my thoughts tangled in something far more dangerous. I thought I was alone, until I felt him behind me. I didn't turn. I didn't have to. "You should go," I murmured, gripping my pen too tightly. "So should you." His voice was low, steady, closer than it should have been. My breath hitched. "We can't." The words barely made it out. He moved beside me, his fingertips brushing my wrist. "But we can't not." I looked up. His eyes locked onto mine. A silent pull, a thread I couldn't untangle myself from. My resolve snapped. The kiss was deep, urgent, inevitable. My hands curled into his shirt, his pressed against my back, every thought drowned out by the rush of it. "Are you sure?" he whispered against my lips. I was about to answer when, a sound behind us. I froze. He did too. Fully I turned. My stomach dropped. My husband stood in the doorway. The house was silent. Not the comforting kind of silence, not the kind that settles after a long day. No, this was different. Cold, suffocating, like the walls themselves had absorbed the weight of what had happened. My husband stood by the window, back turned, hands in his pockets, saying nothing. I felt the words clawing at my throat, desperate to break the unbearable quiet. I didn't mean for this to happen. My voice was barely a whisper. He exhaled sharply but didn't turn around. My fingers curled at my sides, my heart pounding. "I swear I never wanted to hurt you." Finally he faced me. His eyes weren't angry. They weren't sad. They were empty. "No," he said, voice flat, unreadable. "You wanted this." The air was thick between us, heavier with every second of silence. He let it stretch, let it choke me. Then finally he spoke again. "This is your choice. But I won't be part of it." My chest tightened. He walked past me without looking back. The front door opened. And then he was gone. The apartment felt different now. Colder, quieter, emptier. His keys weren't on the counter. His jacket wasn't draped over the chair. The space he once filled was gone, and with it something inside me had hollowed out. I sat on the edge of the bed staring at my phone, waiting. A message. A call. Anything. But the screen stayed dark. He wasn't coming back. And neither was the one I threw everything away for. The office was different too. The stolen glances, the electricity in the air. Gone. He didn't look at me anymore. Didn't speak. It was as if I had never existed. My fingers hovered over his name, but I didn't press send. I already knew. He had gotten what he wanted. And now I had nothing. The city outside kept moving, but inside time had stopped. The silence pressed against me as I sat alone in the dark, knees pulled to my chest. My own breath felt too loud. My own thoughts unbearable. I swallowed the lump in my throat, staring into the emptiness. Was it worth it?